Well, hello, everybody. This is Cindy Alexander back to you with another Excellence in Childcare podcast episode brought to you by One Place Childcare. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, Chanie Wilschanski. She is the president and founder of Schools of Excellence, which is an amazing, coaching and resource program for child care leaders. Chanie, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into early childhood and ultimately coaching?
Yeah, so I am first and foremost a mom of four kids, ranging ages from 5 to 12. I'm a former New Yorker. I lived in New York for almost 2 decades. Then we moved to Florida in August of 2020, right in the thick of COVID. So that's kind of just a brief overview of just a little bit about some of my story. So I started working in childcare when I was actually 19 years old. That was my first job as a toddler teacher, and I worked as a toddler teacher for almost 10 years, and really worked my way through the early childhood ladder, if you will, as an assistant teacher to assistant director, curriculum coordinator, director, executive manager, multiple positions in leadership. And what I really saw as a big void when I started Schools of Excellence was really understanding what leadership means at its core. Leadership is not a goal, it's a practice. It is something that we're consistently practicing and working on. It's interesting, I was watching a master class from Coach K, famous coach who coached men's basketball for almost 47 years. And in his master class, one of the things they spoke about is that even with 47 years in leadership, he still feels that there are moments where he failed his team and that there's so much more that he has to learn as a leader. And so when I hear things like that for people that are in their mid 70s who are still approaching leadership with the humility and the curiosity of there's so much more that I haven't learned yet. This really sits at the crux of what it means to be an early childhood leader. Your journey never ends.
Yeah, so you're taking early childhood leaders on a further leadership journey.
Yeah.
Love it. What is the favorite part about what you do and how you make an impact?
So I absolutely love coaching. I think that there are so many different parts to what we do in our company. We have multiple trademarks, we have training, we have resources, we do events, we do all kinds of things. And I absolutely love the coaching. The coaching is really this opportunity to create a transformation and show people what already exists inside of themselves. I just did a recent podcast episode where I spoke about how advice and tips and tricks and all of these things is really the lowest form of advice, and the lowest form of coaching. The highest form of coaching is a beautiful question. And so when I look at coaching, I look at how can I ask more questions that really invite the person to reckon with what do I have that already exists inside of me? Because everything exists inside of ourselves. The reason that we reach out to mentors, to coaches, to trainers, to advisors is not to get advice, but it's really for us to be able to sit within ourselves and have the mentor help us see perspective, have the mentor invite us to step into a side of ourselves that we've shut down. And so that to me is one of the most joyous parts of my role every single day in my company.
Or even a part of ourselves that we are afraid to
Yeah,
step into.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, I love
yeah,
that. Can you tell us your definition of what it means to be a school of excellence? What does that look like? What are
yeah.
some of the characteristics?
Sure. So my definition of excellence is choosing to show up better than you did 5 minutes ago. I think that we get very stuck on perfectionism. We get very stuck on, I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way. And if I look at parenting, if I look at leadership, if I look at any position of leadership, I think the most powerful strategy is repair. It's coming to say, I'm sorry. It's coming to apologize. It's coming to repair what happened 5 minutes ago, right? Because this notion that there's going to be one day that you're going to get every single shot right, that every single time you step up to bat with your kids you're gonna hit a home run is just nonsense. It doesn't work like that. We're human, we're flawed, we're beautifully flawed, right? And so I think the most powerful strategy in leadership and in parenting, which are so coexisting with each other, is repair. And so my definition of excellence is very similar to what repair looks like. It's choosing to show up better than you did 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago you messed up. Excellence is saying that is not going to derail my day. I get to choose differently in this moment.
I love that. That little 5 minutes ago caveat that you put in there,
Yeah.
because sometimes you can
Yeah.
be talking with somebody, or you can draw a conclusion or react to a statement, and then once a little bit more comes out in the course of the conversation, you're like, "Whoa, let me back up. Let me apologize for how I just
Yeah.
reacted or what I just said. Let
Yeah.
me let me allow me to please apologize and step up."
Yeah.
And that is all what a leader is about. It's about building that relationship and about really looking at yourself first. So
Yeah.
I love that 5 minutes ago caveat. I hadn't heard that
Yeah.
before. Love it.
Hmm.
So your expertise is actually, really in school leadership and building culture, all of the higher level stuff, like we've already been alluding to. What
Yeah.
pointers can you give about training a new employee in all the basics and the nitty gritty of the job, the checklists, and the things that have to get done, the licensing rules, blah blah blah, while still holding that higher level of leadership, I guess, lacking the word, but I think you're picking up on what
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah, so when I was a director and when I was in leadership, and then also now when I coach young directors, one of the things I always tell them is that when you're doing onboarding with new employees, when you're hiring new staff, they need two skills to win. In every single school, in any city, in any zip code, in any part of the world, it's two skills: humility and curiosity. That's it. If they have those two skills, they will always win. And here's why. What I tell new employees in onboarding is, welcome to my company. You're going to make a lot of mistakes here. Are you ready for that? I tell that to my new employees when they come into my company right now in Schools of Excellence. Those are things that I ask in the interview process before I even hire them. Are you okay with making mistakes? What do you do when you get overwhelmed? Don't tell me you don't get overwhelmed. That's just lying to my face.
Right.
And if you don't get overwhelmed, it's either two things: either you are grossly unself-aware, or you've never pushed to the edge of your comfort zone. It's one of those two things. If you have never gotten overwhelmed in your life, there are two things that are like sitting at the crux of that. Either you are so unself-aware you don't even know what overwhelm looks like, meaning you're like running everyone over all day and you're not even aware that you're overwhelmed because it's such a state of being for you, or you play it safe every single day and you never push at the edge of your comfort zone, because the very nature of pushing your limitations is you're going to feel a surge of overwhelm because you're pushing past what your body's capacity is used to. So your body's going to sit in a state of overwhelm for a short period of time, and you'll be like, oh, this is overwhelmed. 1 second. What do I need to do to get out of this? And so when I hire new employees, and then when I coach young directors or owners, when they're hiring new staff, humility and curiosity. You're new here. Humility. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to wipe the tables down every day right. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to forget to turn the lights off sometimes. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you're going to do a head count and you're going to forget that someone was in the bathroom. You're going to make mistakes. The question is, are you going to have the humility to ask for mentorship and questions from mentor teachers, from advice? Are you going to have the curiosity to say, how can I do that better next time? Because those two things are what's going to help you propel forward in this company. It doesn't matter what your skill set is at this point. I always tell that to new employees who come in here. I'm like, I don't care what your skills are right now. I need to know, are you ready to up level? Because I'm going to push your limitations constantly, all the time. I'm constantly going to push your limits.
Wow. That's a really great way to set up how it's going to go. Do you
Yeah.
have any advice to give them off the bat? Maybe in addition to that, about when
Yeah.
their approach, rather than just when they realize they make a mistake, but
Yeah.
when they're approached about something they need to correct.
Yeah, so again, it all starts with the leader. Is the leader understanding that in the first 90 days, this employee is going to make a ton of mistakes? Because that's the first thing that most directors are not ready to sit with. They are not ready to sit with the understanding that they need to have capacity for a ton of grace. Because guess what? When they started, they also made a lot of mistakes, but they life has this way of like making you forget. You kind of block out that season because it feels a little bit embarrassing, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that kind of stuff. Yes, we all do. It's a rite of passage. And so the director and the owner, what they really need is to build capacity to tolerate mistakes, to create latitude for what it means to make mistakes, right? And so also remembering, don't go into the all or nothing. Oh, so I can make them make mistakes all day. No, show them the mistakes that shut the building down, right? Safety.
Mm-hmm.
What is the definition of safety? Right? The definition of safety is not, oh my God, there was a crumb on the table. Sorry, everyone's still going to have a pulse at the end of the day if there was a crumb on the table. Okay. Let's really define what safety is. Okay. When the kids are walking down the hall, if some of the kids are speaking a little bit louder, that is not breaking safety. Everyone will still live, even if they're a little bit noisy when they get to the end of the hall. Okay. So I think the director and the owner need to sit with their tolerance and their capacity and their own emotional regulation and understanding that young teachers are figuring it out. They're figuring it out, and walk them through what sinks this ship, right? Here are the big no-nos. You can't have more than 3. If you have more than 3 no-nos, one of them is actually not the definition of safety. There's very few like true safety rules that are non-negotiable for breaking, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
few of them, right? One of them in my house is, you do not leave this house without telling a grown up. You cannot walk out of this house. You want to go play outside, you want to go to the bath, wherever you want to go, you come check in with mom or dad. That is a non-negotiable, because when I come out of the bathroom and I'm scanning and I don't see someone, that is not okay for my nervous system. I need to know where all humans are at all times, right? So the same thing is inside of your school. Like, understand that, right? So I know that you're asking for like a very specific tip and trick, but really what I want to point out here is that this is not about a specific pointer. This is about you understanding that young staff are going to make mistakes. And so what your understanding is in first 90 days is saying, this is the standard in our company. This is my expectation because this is your first week here. So my expectation is not for you to hit the standard, because people who are hitting the standard are working here for 6 months. You're here for 2 days, like 16 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. You're here for 16 hours. This person has been here for 5 years. There's going to be a discrepancy. And that's why I say humility, right? You know how many times young staff are like, how come I can't do this? I'm like, because you're 21. That's
Yes.
why, right? How come I'm not getting this right? Because you've only done this for 4 hours. Mastery is 10,000 hours. Buckle
Yeah.
up. It's going to be a long ride, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we live in a world of instant gratification, and it is destroying our schools. Like, if you ask me what is the biggest issue in schools today, it is the instant gratification. It is the leaders' lack of capacity to create delayed gratification as a huge part of building culture. We want everything to be yesterday. It doesn't work like that. Anything that is truly sustainable and truly built, that is long lasting, is not built in a day. A beautiful, loving marriage is not built overnight. It's decades of work, right? Of ordinary moments of coming together, right? Of all of these difficult conversations. And so young staff are coming in, they're coming in with this mindset that I should be an amazing teacher tomorrow. And the director's coming in and saying, yeah, you should be an amazing teacher tomorrow because I need you to be. Yeah, but no, because she's been here for a week, but she's only been in the classroom for like 7 hours, because half the time she's been in training or this or like she's had only like 7 or 6 hours of like on the job training with physical humans.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because so much about the success of a newbie rests on the attitude and the perception of the leader. It just comes back to,
Absolutely.
you know, developing yourself as a leader and having a better understanding. Now, it is a fine line, because there are certain things that you have to train on that are, specifics spelled out in licensings and rules and stuff. But you have to give them some time to come up to the standard. Don't ever like leave them in charge. Have them with a mentor, so that way those safety things are met. But if we give more grace to them and more encouragement in showing
Yeah.
them the right the right ways of those nitty gritty things. It's really the overall attitude and mindset and willingness to grow and learn on the staff's part that is the key, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah,
Between
I
the
think
leaders the the leader's perception, and then also the willingness of the employee.
But it's more than the leader, it's the mentor teacher also, right? Like one of the things
Oh,
I talk about a lot is, owners will ask me like, how do I develop a mentor teacher program? How do I get like my mentor teachers are not on board with training their young staff or whatever it is. I'm like, again, this is the training that you need to provide your mentor teachers. They need to give them grace. They want to say it once and they want the teacher to get it, understand it, implement it, train it, boom, go. No, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. And the mentor teachers also don't have training, don't have patience or tolerance or the generosity and the latitude to give for the learning curve, because there is a learning curve.
yes, there definitely is. So when you get to the point where you do have a teacher that's been with you, 6 months, a year, 3 years, whatever, and there either seems to start to be, a difference in their attitude or their willingness, or they're dropping the ball on maybe a close to super serious safety issue, like you can see it kind of escalating, and you have to have that difficult conversation about whatever the topic is. How should a leader approach that? Is there any advice or pointers that you could give for a meeting like that?
Yeah, so the first thing I always say is the awareness phase. Self awareness is such a super skill that I think is vastly under trained on and vastly under mentored on. I think we invest a lot of money in tactical training, like, how do you do this, or how do you help the kids do this, or behavioral management, or conscious discipline, or all these trainings, which are great. Like, there's nothing wrong with these trainings. The challenge is self awareness is the super skill. And so when the teacher has self awareness, she actually has the capacity to ask questions that lead her to leading a better, more functioning classroom. And so when a teacher or director or an admin or whoever it is struggling on your team, my first question is always the self awareness question. Are they aware of what their behaviors, actions are impacting? Right. So I give an example of like when your kids come to you and they're like, Mom, I can't find my shoes. When a child says, Mom, I can't find my shoes, what it means is, my shoes are not on your face. So I can't find my shoes, right? Because they're not on your body right now. And in my short walk from my bedroom to you, I didn't find them. So I can't find my shoes, right? And so the invitation as a parent is to say, Did you look? Let's just start with something as simple as, Did you look? No. Okay. Well, go get some looking, right? The same thing is when you're looking at staff. When a staff member is struggling and is not hitting expectation, the first question you want to ask yourself is the self awareness question. Have you had a self awareness conversation with them around, hey, here are the standards inside of our company? These are our company values. Are you aware that when you come late consecutively, it impacts your co-teacher, and the way that it impacts your co-teacher is through X, Y, and Z, and the way that it impacts the children is through X, Y, and Z, and the way that it impacts your overall reputation amongst all of the staff members is through X, Y, and Z. And I know that you care about all these things, so I don't think you're creating the correlation between coming late and all of these things having an impact. That's self-awareness, right? Self-awareness is understanding that when I wake up late and give myself less time to get to work, my patience and tolerance level has just gone down significantly, which means when now a teacher comes in and asks me a stupid question that I would probably usually have the patience to say, I'm going to get back to you in a couple minutes. Instead, because your patience level has gone down, you're responding with, get back in your classroom. Okay. Now, an aware director knows my snippy comment is because I woke up late,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is taking responsibility for your actions, your emotions, your behaviors, your responses, and not saying, oh, the teacher just asked a stupid question. No. Yes, the teacher may have asked a silly question. You chose to respond in a snippy way. Why? Well, you lowered your tolerance level by waking up late.
Mm-hmm. I love that because it kind of leads into the next thing I wanted to discuss with you is like that director, for whatever reason, she woke up late. Maybe she's overwhelmed. Maybe she has stuff going on at home, or, just has too many things happening at work and, putting in a lot of hours, or not working efficiently, whatever it is, she might feel overwhelmed, and just because of all of the different hats you have to wear. I mean, sometimes you've got to be in the classroom, you've got to be the plumber, you've got to deal with problem parents, you have all of the responsibilities of the paperwork and the metrics and the report. Like, there's so many things. So when that overwhelm leads to waking up late or coming in late or dropping the ball or being snippy with your employees, and you recognize that, how can a school leader like rebalance themselves
Yeah.
when they're being pulled in so many directions?
Yeah. So this is very unpopular advice that I give, and many people actually don't like when I say this, and some people don't want to work with us after I tell them this piece of
Okay.
advice. You need to do less. You
Mm.
need to do less. So there is no magic formula to reducing overwhelm. The reducing of overwhelm comes with having less things to be responsible for, right? I always say, like, I don't want to figure out how to be more productive or have more time to do all the things. I just want less things to do. So when directors come to me or owners come to me, like my directors are overwhelmed or whatever, I'm like, you have to reduce capacity. You have to take things off their plate. And then work up their skill set to manage their current workload, and then see, is there capacity for them to take on more, right? The issue is that people keep adding and adding and adding without building first the infrastructure, the automation, and the systems and the processes to function. And then they wonder why they're overwhelmed, right? I often give this example to like a mom who just had a baby who now decides, 3 days after I have a baby, this is like the best time to implement a new workout routine. Like, this is like prime time. I am like in the best position of life to implement a new work routine, right? Or she decides a week after, but she's like, we really need to figure out like a better system for laundry in this house. Like, the laundry system is crazy. Like, we need to create a laundry system. No, you're a week after birth. You're surviving, my girlfriend. Like, get back into bed and go to sleep. Like, we're not implementing any systems right now. Why? Because her body has done enough. She just had a baby. That's enough
Mhm.
for the next several weeks. That's plenty. And so the challenges in leadership and in schools, we are addicted to more centers, more work, more staff, more kids, more occupations, more acquisition, more initiatives, more this, more. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? That is the hardest question that every owner has to ask themselves. When will you be happy? When is enough enough? When do you have enough? When is there enough money, enough centers, enough kids? When is it enough? Because if you do not define that, you are constantly chasing your tail for more and more and more and more and more. And there's nothing wrong with more. The challenge is, why are you going after more? Because what happens is most people are trying to feed a part of themselves that will never be satiated. And that part of themselves is, I am not enough. And so maybe if I get another center, I'll feel like enough. Maybe if I go do this thing, I will finally feel worthy. Maybe if I go do this, then I'll finally feel that. No, nothing ever fills that bucket. Nothing. No money, no time, no vacation, no extra home, no yacht, no plane, no nothing fills that. Nothing, right? Speak to billionaires. A lot of them are still miserable. Okay. So a lot of them are not, but a lot of them are still miserable. And so when I see directors that are overwhelmed, I always go back to the owner and say, what are your goals? What are the projects that are on your plate? Do you know how many people have like 15 to 20 projects at any given time? And this is what I tell people: act your team size. You have a team of 5 people. Act that way. You don't get to do 20 projects. You're not IBM. You do not have 10,000 employees. You have 5.
Right.
Act that way.
Uh-huh.
You are not a Silicon Valley funded startup. You do not have millions waiting for you to just use at your disposal. You have a budget. Act that way. And the issue is we act like we have infinite budgets. We act like we have infinite humans on the team, and we show up and then we wonder, oh my gosh, I don't have money. My people are overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. Well, here's what you need to do. Stop. I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, I
I said
absolutely
enough.
love that, because, like, even like right now, I've got several projects, I'm spinning all these plates. I call myself a
Yeah.
plate spinner. But sometimes it's like, I just have to say, I can't add anything else right
No.
now. I've got to finish up some of these before I can bring something else on.
Yeah.
And And I've got a couple of freelance jobs that I use. So, I'm speaking, different priorities at different places. And I absolutely love that advice. And then the other thing that I said is that I really like that you said is act your size, especially right now. We might have to like pull back a little bit on our expectations because it's been hard to find staff. And that's one of the next questions I wanted to ask you about was if you have any advice for those that might be struggling to attract new hires, because we need more people to delegate
Yeah.
to and to help our programs rise and
Yeah.
be full and grow
The
if
first
that's
thing
if
is the
that's a
mindset
priority.
shift. You have to define what winning looks like. The challenge is as many owners in this season where they're short staffed or whatever it is, they are refusing to let certain projects go in the interim while they're becoming staffed. And so the challenge with that is they are burning their team out. And so even when they become fully staffed, now they have to do a year of recovery because their team is exhausted. Exhausted. Okay? And so the challenge is you have to define what does winning look like in this season, right? And you have to consistently redefine that because seasons change. Right? I just had this conversation on Monday with my mentor because I'd set huge business goals in the beginning of the year, and my kids are kind of in this season where I need to just pull my focus a little bit more away from the business. And so there are certain targets I'm not going to be able to reach. And I kind of got myself in this little slump where I was feeling like a failure a little bit. I was like, oh, I set these big goals. Like now I'm going to reach them. And I was talking to my mentor and he's like, Chanie, what is winning? What is the definition of success? What is your rich life? And I'm like, my rich life is to be with my kids. My rich life and winning is to be a present and intentional mom. And he's like, okay, so you're winning. That's it. There's nothing. You are winning at life. So you're not going to hit that milestone this year. Okay, you're not done. Your business isn't shutting down. You still have time, right? And so this is a huge wake up moment for whoever's listening. Define winning in this season, in this moment, and let go of 5 projects and just wait on them. I'm not saying never do them. I'm saying halt, wait until you recover the team from the last 3 years of insanity and bring your team back up again and then go forward and take on extra projects. The problem is you don't have the patience to wait. You want the instant gratification today and yesterday. And because of that, you're burning your team out. Slow down. Play the decades game. Build legacy. You don't need to do everything this year.
I love that because we are in the world of instant gratification. And if we don't have
Yes.
what we want now,
Yeah.
we think that we've failed or we have to grind harder to get it. But you're right. Sometimes it does take slowing down.
I'm playing the decades game. I always say, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be here way past everyone. I'm going to give speeches when I'm 90. Like, I'm going to be speaking on stages when I'm 90. Like, I am playing the longest game here. Like, I am in no rush to do anything. I will be around here for decades. And so I think it is really important to understand the game that you're playing. Are
Love
you
that.
playing the quick, fast, flip, dirty game and get out? Fine. But I don't, first of all, I don't work with those clients. And second of all, I work with people that play the decades game. I work with people who are building legacy. I look with people who are looking to build something that exists way beyond their lifetime, way beyond their lifetime. When I'm not here anymore, I want schools of excellence all around the world. That doesn't take a year to build. That takes decades. And I'm ready to play that game. And I think a lot of people are ready to play that game, but they need reminders of how do you play the decades game because it's a different game. It's a different game.
Yeah. Or they need to be shown a path on how to play the decades game because they
Yeah.
feel stuck in this world of
Yeah.
instant. And
Yeah.
so just to show them that big picture and to tell them that's okay and remind them that that is the longer lasting way
Yeah.
is so huge. I
Yeah.
love that.
We get so stuck up on these things. Like, we're like, oh, this person became a millionaire when he was 25, or this person became a billionaire when he was 40. I'm like, show me someone who became a millionaire when they were 70. Show me someone who, changed careers when they were 65 and started a whole new thing. Like, stop being obsessed with reaching every single milestone before you're 40. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
Um, so you work with a lot of clients, a lot of different centers, and so I'm sure you've got your hand on the heartbeat of what's going on out there. What do you think the biggest issue is that is facing most childcare businesses right now in 2023?
I mean, well, we touched on it before. It's the instant
Mhm.
gratification.
Okay.
So I know that whenever this question gets posed in a room full of childcare leaders, they're going to say staffing. I disagree. I totally
Okay.
disagree. It is instant gratification. It is the need for everything to be fixed now. We want everything to be fixed now. And with instant gratification comes the lack of capacity to tolerate discomfort. When we are uncomfortable, we want it to go away right away. Oh my God, I'm short staffed. Quickly, get me people in the door. Oh my gosh, this person, like, quick. Everything is now. We cannot sit in discomfort. And then on the flip side of that is the capacity to tolerate pleasure. There are people that are addicted to stress and chaos and insanity. And the moment things are quiet, they're like, 1 second, it's too quiet. When's the next shoe dropping? Hold on. They don't know how to be happy. They don't even know how to sit in pleasure. Trust me, I know that. I couldn't sit still on a couch for more than 5 minutes. I've built my capacity over time to learn how to sit still for more than 5 minutes. I could sit still for several hours now. So there's two sides to that. It's the capacity to tolerate discomfort and it's the capacity to tolerate pleasure, right? Actually know how to enjoy what you've built and not run to the next goal. Enjoy, right? And I don't mean just celebrate by going out to eat with champagne. No, no, no. Actually enjoy the goal and don't set a new one for like a month, right? Now, overachievers are listening to this and are having mini heart attacks at me. What, are you crazy? You have to learn how to sit in pleasure. Just sit and be. So that is one side. And the flip side is the tolerating discomfort. You know how many teachers cannot tolerate discomfort? Oh my God, Max hit yesterday. You got to get him out of my classroom. Oh, is Max 18 months? Oh, right. 18 months old hit. Yeah. Leia dumped everything all over the floor. She needs, we need other hands in here. Oh, Leia's 2. Oh, 2-year-old's dumb. Good to know. They cannot tolerate anything that feels uncomfortable. This kid's biting, this kid's dumping, this kid's using potty language. I don't like this, I don't like that. Oh, did you think you were coming here for spa treatment every day? Because that's not what this is. This is a
Yeah.
job. This is childcare. This is normal. It is normalizing the chaos. We'll do spa treatments together when we do, staff development or when we do fun things. Like, absolutely, it's spa day. Like, let everyone take care of me today. I love those days. I have a massage tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Like, those are amazing. But I don't get a massage every day or
Yeah.
get massaged all day, right? Like,
Right.
part of it is enjoying the work. And I think with a world of instant gratification, we have a generation that is coming up that doesn't enjoy hard work, that doesn't enjoy getting their fingers and their hands dirty, and what it means to actually find appreciation from something that you've built, right? From something that you've done, like the hard work, not everything being handed to you on a silver platter. Like, the struggle creates the joy. It's understanding, Joseph Campbell saying, the journey, the hero's journey, face the 1,000 faces. Like, what is the journey? Nobody watches anything that just is all like euphoric, right? Every Disney movie has the struggle, the protagonist, right? Something that he has to overcome, and then, right, and we're cheering for that, right? but
Mhm.
but if the whole movie was just them getting spa treatments, oh my God, that is so freaking boring. Nobody wants to watch that. Why? Because it's not real life. It's
Right.
not real life. Well, guess what real life is in a childcare center? It's the kid throwing. It's the kid vomiting on you. It's the kid having an accident in the middle of the floor. That's what it is. And there's also all these beautiful, joyful moments, but you don't get to enjoy the joy as much when you don't have the struggle. It comes together. Now, I'm not saying suffering. There's a big difference. I'm talking about the struggle, the regular
Mhm.
struggles of life, not suffering, which is a whole separate conversation.
Right. I totally get it. What uh, great advice and just great insight you've given us today. I'm so thrilled we got to have a chance to talk and catch up on this great topic today. If listeners wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch?
Yeah, before we go into getting in touch, I want to leave you guys with one of my favorite quotes, because
Okay, great.
when I think of leadership, so much of it is around mantras or quotes or things that you kind of reckon with. And my favorite quote is from Viktor Frankl, from his book From Man's Search for Meaning. It's a book I read actually once a year. Every single year I reread that book. It is a staple for me in my leadership practice. And his quote is, whoops. And his quote is, when we no longer are able to change our situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. It's part of his, for those of you that don't know, Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor from Auschwitz, and he's a doctor, and just his whole journey is fascinating. But just understanding, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. You cannot change the staffing, the government, the issue, the planet, the climate, you can't. So guess what you're going to have to do? Change yourself.
100%. The way you respond to things, the way you choose to think about things, the solutions you come up with, come from within.
Yeah.
So
everything is from within. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So getting in contact with you.
Yeah, so we have a couple of different ways you guys can get in contact with us. One is we have a special gift that I'd love to give all the listeners here. It's our difficult conversation template. It's how to create a culture of accountability versus a culture of blame. So we'll have that for you guys. And one of the best ways to get in touch with us is our podcast. So if you're listening to this podcast and you'd like to listen to shows, we have a podcast called the Schools of Excellence podcast, which is all about leadership. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, like my style, which is a little bit edgy, a little New York-y, a little bit straightforward and straight shooting, then you'll love our show as well. So you could go check us out, the Schools of Excellence podcast.
Okay, great. Will you share with me a link that I can put in the notes?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. And thank you so much, Chanie, for being with us today. This was a great conversation about up-leveling your leadership and really looking at yourself as a leader to level up your team, basically.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in once again to the Excellence in Childcare podcast, and be sure to subscribe so you know when the next episode is coming out. All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.